Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to England once again, and we're going to revisit one of the really well-known English craft breweries actually, and this is a brewery that I've had some very good experiences with in the past. So for this one we are going to return to Yorkshire, to Huddersfield specifically, and we're having a taste of another beer from Magic Rock Brewing. So this one is their Fabulist. It's a New England IPA coming in at 6.2%. The hops in this one are Magnum, Citra, Equinox, Simcoe and Mosaic, so it should be a really quite nice beer, this one. And this is a style of course that Magic Rock have done very well over the last couple of years, so very curious to see how this one turns out. This was of course another one of the small partiers that we got through Systembolaget here in Sweden. This one was released I believe around the 19th of November, something like that. The second lot of small partiers that we had in November over here. So really looking forward to this, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Magic Rock before. No doubt I will add some more in the near future. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the English beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Magic Rock Brewing then, on to my brewery notes. So Magic Rock Brewing, as I mentioned to you before, are based in Huddersfield in Yorkshire in English, and they were established back in 2011 by brothers Richard and Johnny Burhouse, although Johnny later left the company and they were soon joined by head brewer Stuart Ross. So the beer brewing began in mid-2011, and the beers proved so popular that the brewery won the accolade of Best New Brewery of 2012 from Rate Beer, which is no mean feat actually. Of course it's a very American dominated site, so for a new English brewery to win that is pretty impressive. But the brewery was largely inspired by the kind of booming craft beer market over in the US, and they've been expanding their capacity and staff of course ever since their inception, just due to the high demand of their beers. As of 2015, the brewery are based in the Willow Business Park in Birkby, and they now employ well over 30 people. And this new site has a brewing capacity of 10,000 hectolitres of beer per year, and also a fermentation capacity of 70,000 litres, which I think is pretty impressive too. So definitely, well, as I say, definitely one of the English breweries that you want to check out. These guys are doing some really awesome stuff, and they've got their little core range of beers that they do that I think is really nice as well. And one that you definitely want to try from this brewery is the Cannonball series. They've got the original, they've got the Unhuman, and I forget what the other ones have called, but basically they've got a big massive West Coast IPA, a New England IPA in that as well, and then they've got a triple IPA that comes out there as well. I think it's the triple that's called the Unhuman. There's the Unhuman, the Inhuman, and then is the Neo-Human Cannonball or something like that. And I think that was what the names of these were, but very good beers, and ones that I definitely recommend that you check out. Some of the other guys I know review those every year, but I was lucky enough just to be able to review them once for you last year when I was in Durham. But yeah, that's all you really need to know about Magic Rock Brewing just now. As I say, one of the English breweries that you definitely want to check out. If you want to learn a little bit more, check out their brewery website, follow them on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, and you can keep up to date with all the latest goings on at their brewery. But let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself then. So let me just bring up the specs on this beer before we taste it. Like I mentioned to you, this one is a 6.2% New England Hazy IPA, however you want to call it. The malt base in this one is Caramalt, Golden Promise and Wheat, and this one has a Citra, Equinox, Magnum T90, which will be the bittering hop in this one, and also Mosaic and Simcoe, and it's a WLP 001 American Ale Yeast. So yeah, that's all you need to know about the beer and as well. So let's get it out and get on with the tasting. And of course I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork then. You can see this is the distinctive kind of mad monster sort of thing that you get from Magic Rock. I really like the artwork that these guys put on their cans. The sort of rebranding that they did a couple of years ago was actually very nice. I really like that. The original cans were quite nice as well. The little Mad Monsters, the more metallic-y cans were very nice. But yeah, I do like this sort of rebrand that they're doing. It's kind of cool to see this as well on the smaller cans. I think their core range of beers still have the little more metallic-y looking cans, I would say, rather than the sort of matte sticker ones. But yeah, let's get this guy out and we'll get on with the tasting then. And as soon as you open up this beer, you really get a big waft of those nice big hoppy notes. Oh, just look at that. I'm curious to see how this turns out, because quite often Magic Rock, I've noticed that they like to use acidulated malts in their IPAs, and it just gives the malt base a little bit of a kick sort of thing to it. But this one I think is going to be a little bit more straight up, just looking at it was Golden Promise and caramel and wheat that was in the base in this one, so I think this one will be a little bit more straight up compared to some of their other ones. But yeah, when you bring this beer out, you really get a waft of the lime, which will be the Equinox, but there's also some of the mangoes and passion fruits and stuff like that from the other things, and some of the tangerines from the Mosaic too. But as you can see with this beer, it's poured a lovely hazy golden orange. There's a solid finger and a half of a frothy, I would say cream coloured head on this one. It's not perfect white, one or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass there, a few little ones heading up towards the bottom of that head, and you can see if I put my fingers behind the glass, you can see there is some transparency there, but mainly this is a hazy beer. Of course, it's not quite as hazy as some of the kind of fruit juicy New England ones that you'll get, but definitely a hazy IPA nonetheless. But nothing really surprising in terms of appearance from this beer, so let's take a closer look at the aroma and just see how we get on with this one. Oh, that smells really, really juicy actually. Lots of lovely stuff coming out. I mean, you get a bit of the passion fruit from the Simcoe in this one, but that's kind of quite muted actually. It's more, for me, this one's more about the Mosaic, the tangerine oranges from the Mosaic, and also the mangoes from the Citra. That's what's really coming out for me. And in the end, in the back end of it, you're getting some of the lime from the Equinox too. The Magnum, like I mentioned before, is mainly a bittering hop, and it can give you a little bit of a distinctive sort of floral, spicy quality to the beer. So we'll detect the Magnum in the taste, but you won't really get much out of it in the aroma. But yeah, lovely juicy fruity notes. Like I say, a little bit of passion fruit, some mangoes in there, some nice tangerine oranges from the Mosaic as well, and also a little bit of also some limey notes too. There's a little bit of a blueberry note and some kind of lychees and things, which are the complexities. The blueberry comes from the Mosaic. Yeah, blueberry comes from the Mosaic, and the more lychee notes come from the Citra in this one. We're probably having a bit of a brain fart there. But yeah, in terms of the floral grassy side of things with this hop, you can pick up that there's a little bit of a spicy floral aromatic note to this one. In terms of the malt base as well, it's nice and bready, a little bit of a biscuity sweetness too, which is interesting. A little bit of a biscuity bready sort of thing going on there. And yeah, it does just smell really nice actually. You can definitely pick up some of the nice biscuity sweetness in there, white bready notes. You can smell some of the smoother wheat as well. So as I always say, just take a little bit of time to enjoy the aroma of the beer before you get stuck in. And the Magic Rock beers are always really nice in terms of the fruity side of their hops. So just bear that in mind when you try this beer. But let's have a taste of this one then. So this one is the Fabulist, a 6.2% hazy IPA from Magic Rock Brewing over in Huddersfield in Yorkshire in England. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, skål. Oh yeah, this one is definitely a little bit more straight up compared to some of the other that you'll get from Magic Rock. The acidulated malt, that's one of the kind of trademarks, if you like, of this brewery that I've become used to. That acidulated malt is definitely not in this one. This one is a very, very straight up hazy IPA. So yeah, with this beer then you get that nice white bready quality, that just blankets the middle of your palate, that sort of wheaty note to it. That's just sitting there right on the top of your palate. On top of that, you can feel, as you go further and further into the aftertaste, the beer starts to sweeten up a little bit, which is nice. You start to get a little bit of the grainy notes coming out of it, but right in the centre of your palate you can pick up some of the sweeter caramel notes there as well. That's what's covering the boozy element of this beer, but at 6.2% you don't really need to worry too much about the boozy side of things being covered It's really when you get up to the sort of 8 and 9%, probably 8.5% is the most you can cover with some of these wheat malts and things like that. But definitely a little bit of caramel sweetness in there. As you go further out from the centre of the palate, it's a little bit more biscuity, and some of the grainy notes, like I say, come out later on, and some of the smooth, wheaty base to the beer is there as well. But the way the malt base goes together is really quite simple actually. Normally the Magic Rock beers are a little bit more complex in the malt base than that because of that acidulated malt that they sometimes like to use. But yeah, it's an interesting kind of change of pace, I guess you could say, for Magic Rock. So kudos to them for trying something a little bit different. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, you have a little bit of an earthiness in there. There's definitely a little bit of that. That would be, I would suspect, from the Magnum, and a little bit from the Mosaic in this beer as well. I always remember that Mosaic does give you a little bit of an earthiness in there. But as you come further forward from that, it smooths out a little bit. As you get towards the front corners of your palate, it's a little bit more spicy, and floral aromatic. Then round the very front curve of the tongue, it's a little bit lighter and more grassy, I would say. Yeah, so it's the fruity notes in this one. There's quite a bit going on actually, which is interesting. So as I always say, behind the front curve of your palate, that's where you get that little oily bubble, where those juicy, fruity esters start to come out of the beer. And I would say this one, you can definitely feel the Simcoe sort of being the linchpin of this beer. It's definitely got a little bit of that almost darker, it's not quite sour right enough, but just a little bit of a darker and passion fruity flavour. That's forming the linchpin of the beer. As you go further and further into the aftertaste of this one, I think there's a little bit more of the mangoes coming out, and a little bit further towards the front of the tongue, you start to get the tangerine oranges from the Mosaic, and you can pick up in the aftertaste the limey notes, I think, are coming out around the front edge of the tongue, which is quite nice. There's a lot going on in this one in terms of fruitiness, so you have to take a little bit of time to fully appreciate what's going on there. But yeah, this one, the fruitiness is just nice on that. When you go further and further into the aftertaste, you get a little bit of the lychee notes around the front edge of your tongue too, and you can feel the blackberry right on the kind of centre tip of your, the blueberry, sorry, right on the centre tip of your palate, which comes from the Mosaic, of course, as well. This beer does have a good little bit of just a nice juicy fruity complexity to it, and I like how everything goes together in this one. The fruits are nice, the passion fruit, as I say, is forming the linchpin of that. The mangoes comes out on top of it, you get a bit of the orange further forward on the tongue, and the lime, I think, is mixing a bit with the passion fruit as well, and I think that might be sort of just pushing that flavour to the forefront as well. I always find, for me at least, I think maybe not for others so much, lime for me is quite a pungent fruit. Like, I just have this thing where I can always be like, oh, lime, and it comes straight away to me. And you can definitely pick up the lime in this beer. I could smell it straight away. It's I don't know, it's one of these things I just pick up on right away with that particular fruit. So yeah, the limey notes in this are nice as well. I do enjoy these Equinox IPAs, but overall, I mean, this one, is it the best IPA that I've had from Magic Rock? I'm not quite sure about that. I mean, the Cannonball beers were very, very special, and you know, it's hard to beat those. But is it a very solid and really quite nice IPA? Yeah, exactly. And that's, you know, if they're putting out beers like this and continuing to experiment with different things and see how things go together, there's not much more you can ask from them. So yeah, Fabulist, it's another really kind of solid IPA from Magic Rock, and there's not much more you can ask them to do, to be honest. It's just nice to see that they're starting, because I don't think I've had Magic Rock beers over here before, if I remember correctly. I've had some collaborations and things, but I think in Sweden I don't think I've actually had Magic Rock beers before, so I do hope that this is the start of them being fairly regular over here. But yeah, nice IPA, so thumbs up to Magic Rock Brewing for this one. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I would say it's a mid-bodied beer. Carbonation's pretty smooth, which is what you'd expect from the style. Yeah. Carbonation's smooth on this one. I would say, yeah, smooth carbonation. A little touch of an oily mouthfeel to this one, but mainly overall it is quite smooth. A little bit of, I would say, nice bit of hoppy bitterness in there, maybe around 35 IBUs, something like that. A lot of nice juicy fruit to this beer. and the malt base is very smooth, but it also has a little bit of sweetness to it as well. The one thing I will say about this beer's been imported by one of these companies for Systembolaget, and you can tell that it's not at its freshest with this one, and that's one of the things that Systembolaget really do need to work on. With the knowledge that I've had of Magic Rock beers, because when I was in Durham, you know, you're just next to Yorkshire, you can get them like really fresh. This is not the freshest that you're going to find a Magic Rock beer, and you get so much more out of them when they are really fresh. So Systembolaget really need to work with these export companies and hold them a little bit more to account to actually make sure that the beers really are reaching the Swedish customers fresh, because you can tell with this beer a little bit it's not quite in its prime, but as it stands it still is a very, very good beer. It doesn't matter so much with the darker beers, of course, you know, the porters, the stouts and things like that, but when it comes to IPAs, at Systembolaget, if you're going to sell IPAs, they need to be fresh. You can't be having these things sat in a warehouse for 3 months in Stockholm before they actually get out there. They need to either relax the rules a little bit or hold the importers more to account when it comes to actually getting these beers. So that's something that Systembolaget need to work on, in my opinion, but in terms of the beer itself, you cannot fault it. So yeah, I think that's a good point to end on for this review. Very, very good beer, but it should be coming out into the market a little bit sooner than it is, in my opinion. But yeah, so let's leave it at that for this one. So yeah, this was the Fabulist, and a 6.2% hazy IPA from Magic Rock Brewing in Huddersfield in Yorkshire in England. A brewery that I'm quite familiar with, and I know they do some awesome stuff. A little bit more of a straight up IPA, but still very, very good. The thing that they haven't got in this one that they normally do is that acidulated malt base, which is always quite interesting. But still, have a go at this beer if you get the chance. It's another very, very solid IPA from them. But once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Magic Rock as well, and do give me some recommendations for some other beers that I might not have reviewed from these guys already. But thank you again for watching. Make sure you check out my social media, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Fabulist IPA from Magic Rock Brewing in Huddersfield in Yorkshire in England. Until the next time, it's Lange just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Skål.